chambers. It is Tuesday, March. Oh, it is not Tuesday, March. It is Tuesday, April 1st. And I have the wrong agenda up. We are here at the Finance, Budget, and Personnel meeting. We are going to identify any potential conflicts of interest. All right, seeing none, we are going to look for citizen comments. We do not have any citizens in the chamber. I assume we have no letters. Okay, no citizen comment. We now have the consent agenda. It is the minutes of the March 4th, 2025 meeting, bills and payroll. We have the monthly position control report and the report of personnel actions. Do we have anyone willing to make a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say, oh, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Righty. We are moving on to number 6, request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 07-2025, increasing the public safety fund operating supplies expense account by $25,000 and the state grants other revenue account by $25,000 in conjunction with the city's acceptance of a state forestry grant presented by Justin Casperson, Parks and Rec Director.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. The purpose of my memo tonight is to seek approval of budget resolution number 07-2025, Wisconsin DNR Urban Forestry Grant of $25,000 for ash tree removal and tree replacement program. This past fall, upon approval of resolution number 204-42, which is enclosed in your packet, City Forester Mark Reshezek successfully obtained a $25,000 urban forestry grant from the Wisconsin DNR to support tree planting initiatives. This project addresses the critical need to ease the impact of the emerald ash borer. This winter, removed 75 ash trees from the public boulevards. Of course, these are to have in place this winter, and they're necessary to get ahead of EAB. So far, since 2019, we've removed 742 trees and planted 581. This grant and the future tree planting projects will help address the disparity. On March 17th, just last week, a couple weeks ago, the Board of Public Works approved a bid from Legacy Tree in the amount of $21,700 for the planting of 62 trees along South Central Avenue, along West Adler Road, and along East Veterans Parkway. The residents will be getting new trees and receive informational door hangers and urban forestry and the benefits of trees. A citywide news release and social media posts will raise awareness about EAB and tree care. This project and the grant will enhance our urban canopy, promote biodiversity, and educate the community on sustainable tree management. So my recommendation tonight is to approve to council budget resolution 0725 Wisconsin DNR Urban Forestry Grant of $25,000 for ash tree removal and tree replacement program. In your packet is the resolution as well as the tree planting contract that was approved by the Board of Public Works on March 17th, as well as the successful email we got from the DNR and the fall resolution from 2024.
Thank you so much. Do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve budget resolution 07-2025. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions? Yes, Mr. Reigel.
I do have one just for clarity. I know you already said this, so forgive me, but we got a $25,000 grant, which is why we're increasing the budget. Is that correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Justin, I just have a question. Are these the type of grants that we needed to have an up-to-date corp for, like the Parks and Rec?
This one specifically, no.
Okay.
Those are usually related to stewardship grants to the DNR. Those were where your corp has to be up to date to be eligible for those grants.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have none opposed. The motion. Okay. Question number 7. Request to recommend council approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Wood County Health Department for mass dispensing sites at Oak Avenue Community Center and authorize staff to execute the agreement. presented by Justin Casperson, Parks and Recreation Director.
All right, thank you again. The purpose of my memo is to seek approval of the MOU from Wood County to have Oak Avenue serve as a local dispensing site for the Strategic National Stockpile, which is commonly referred to as SNS, an event that a stockpile is requested to address large-scale communicable disease outbreak, medical countermeasures, or bioterrorism event. A local dispensing site is a pre-identified accessible location within the community that is capable of handling large numbers of people and is equipped to distribute medications or immunizations from this SNS in response to a public health emergency. Local dispensing sites are important because they provide a structured and efficient way to distribute medical countermeasures to the public when local resources are overwhelmed. The SNS site is the federal stock, or the SNS is a federal stockpile of drugs, vaccines, medical products, and supplies that can be deployed to state, local, tribal, or territorial health jurisdiction to address public health emergencies. After meeting responsible requirements, the city employees will permit, to the extent of its ability, upon request from the Wood County Health Department, the use of Oak Ave facility for its equipment by the Wood County Health Department within 24 hours of the request and for a time period being requested for mass clinics of disease prevention and control activities, with the exception of dates and times that the building has been reserved for a city voting event or for previously scheduled events that cannot be rescheduled. It is further agreed that organizations that utilize the second floor rooms may still hold their activities in their second floor areas during the time Wood County needs the Oak Avenue Community Center and would not negatively impact the Wood County Health Department's activities. So included in your packet tonight is the MOU, and my recommendation is to approve the MOU from Wood County to have Oak Avenue as a local dispensing site for the Strategic National Stockpile and permit staff to sign the MOU.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for Wood County Health.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? Mr. Reichel?
I'm looking at the MOU right now, and point number 2 of our commitment is to designate 3 points of contact, but I only see 2 listed. Is that an oversight that we need to correct prior to signing this?
We could add a third, we'll add Ben Steinmacher, our park superintendent. This is from them, so they must have been satisfied with their own requirement. So I could add Ben. We didn't create it, so
Perfect, but
I'll
yeah,
add
just
Ben.
to point that out.
Justin, I had a question. If let's say in the event, for some really unusual reason, the county needed to come in and use that space for, let's say, 2 weeks to 4 weeks, a significant amount of time, is there anything in the agreement that would say, hey, we're going to compensate you for the fact that you couldn't use this for your community, or we, had to use all these utilities or anything like that?
I think for an event of that size or that scale where they're going to be using it for 2 weeks would probably enact our EOC program, in which there might be relief from the state. It's a pretty large thing you're referring to of exclusive use of that for 2 weeks. I'm guessing that this would be even similar to what the pandemic response would be. They didn't ask for that use of that space. They ended up using our fire station. I don't think they reimbursed us for any expenses that I'm aware of for use of the fire station for that. So it'd have to be, if something that large and catastrophic would probably trigger some sort of EOC response, and probably some state funding would be available, but I can't say for certain.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions or discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have none of that. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, number 8, request to recommend council approval to change the title of communications specialist to community media coordinator, to approve revised job descriptions for this position, as well as the communications director's position, and to authorize staff to send these job descriptions to McGrath Human Resources Group for the review and compensation evaluation. Presented by Tom Lokes, Communications Director.
Alrighty. Thank you and good evening. Seeking to reorganize the communications department as stated in my memo to you guys. And it is to establish a clear framework for community media communications and marketing activities within the city. Both positions are used to communicate information to the citizens of Marshfield, but they're very different. The role of the communications director is to guide the communications and marketing strategies for the city and provide departments with best practices for internal and external communications. The director also serves as the public's informational officer, releasing information about the city to the residents, the media, as well as elected officials. That person, aka me, is also responsible for building trust by being very transparent and consistent communication with as many demographics as possible. And another piece about that, the position of the communications director is responsible for numerous communication platforms and mediums used to communicate and distribute city information out to the public and the media. It's not limited to like the website, social media. Community media is also a piece of it, and related online platforms. Also, the director is tasked to develop and create, write, produce information that is spread on those platforms, and is also needs to be vetted through department and division heads, managers, as well as the city administrator as needed. So this position, which is the communications director, needs to closely work with the city administrator as well as key staff, fostering a strong sense of shared purpose, clarity, and engagement throughout the city. Now, the communications media coordinator, which reports to the communications director, this position will oversee all of the city's community media operations, and that is Marshfield Broadcasting known as. This position, again, reports to me as responsible for designating and implementing all the programs that you see on Marshfield Broadcasting, including meetings such as this one that we're filming live right now. Those include programs on the station also include local, state, and national programming on all three channels. It also has its own social media platforms. On demand. It also has a weekly newsletter that goes out in a print along with a TV guide. That position is responsible for that. The position also involves all technical aspects of community media operations, including hosting and producing these programs that are done in the studio or on location. The community media coordinators also be responsible for the community media side of the communications department's budget. That's something we're working on right now. Right now it's one budget, working with finance to clear that up a bit. And I think it'll help also decision-making when we get into budget time. A few more things on this. My goal is to enhance our efficiency and our day-to-day operations between myself and David, and prevent any confusion that comes along among staff, the public, elected officials, in the origin of the messaging. That's really key. I think doing this will also ensure consistent messaging and proper branding for the city. You'll hear me talk about branding because branding is different for Marshfield Broadcasting and different for the city. Additionally, programming is produced and broadcasted that are on the community media channels, which are on cable, streaming, on demand, and quite a few areas. It goes way beyond city government. Those programs are also created for the community, and at times community members are also creating those. So there is that difference, quite a big difference between what the message of the city is saying and the message that's done on community media. And that's one of the reasons why to try to make sure that makes sense and be efficient as well to both you, the public, and staff. Just want to talk about funding because that's always a question. Funding isn't going to change. It's still going to come from the franchise fees and the 1% state aid that once replaced 1% of those franchise fees. So in 2020, we lost a 1% to the state. The state decided graciously made up that 1% of about $49,000 and have continued to do so. So my recommendation to this committee is recommend the authorization to send these job descriptions, the community media coordinator to McGrath for review, and compensation if needed, and further recommend to send the job description for myself because there are a few changes in there. And then that's where we're at. So I'm looking to see and recommend to this committee if you would do that for our department.
All right, thank you, Tom. Do I have any motions? Are there any motions?
I'll make a motion to send this to McGrath for evaluation.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion or questions? Yes, Mr. Rigel.
Do we have any anticipated, can we anticipate what the potential change in pay is going to be, or the wages are going to be after we send this to McGrath?
I'll let Sarah chime in a little bit here. We do have $3,500 that we do budget for overtime expenses. We've used maybe a couple $100 of that right now because that position uses comp time a lot. So we try to provide time off. So we do have an extra $3,500 budget in that. I don't know if that'll meet it, but go ahead, Sarah, if you can chime in on that, if you would.
Yeah, so typically when we have kind of a pretty significant change in like job duties and things like that, what McGrath will do is look at comparables if there are some, but then they also look at whether or not the position should be exempt or non-exempt. So whether it stays hourly or moves to salary based on FLSA standards. So they kind of run through that whole thing. Then based on that, they kind of look at the current job scale to see if it warrants any sort of move in grades. So I think with this one, there was a change in the pay grade at this last compensation study for the current position, and it did increase it, I think, 1 or 2 pay grades. My guess would be that it probably may stay in that same pay band, but just move probably from an hourly non-exempt position to an exempt position due to the job duties and responsibilities. If it were to move, my guess would be maybe up a pay grade, but to be honest, I'm kind of guessing it's going to stay exactly where it is.
Okay, more of a logistical question then. If there were to be a pay raise, would we see it again, or does it automatically take effect if we approve this motion right now?
No, basically what McGrath will do is they'll go through the whole process, they'll provide us with the information, and then we would bring it back for final approval and discussion and all of that.
Okay, then I think I've got one last question here. Mr. Lauk said this would improve the efficiency of the department. How would that improve the efficiency?
Well, right now we get a lot of emails, and either if we're not communicating between each other very well, we may find that one of us could do something that the other did. And for instance, like a website post, and all of a sudden we're not sure, even though we should be sure, or an email goes to one and not the other. We end up getting double doing a lot of, it can happen double doing, and we want to really try to not avoid those things. So the other thing is in community media, it's really important that we work with the person that is doing the producing, and a lot of people will come to me as the director, even though I may not be producing that program. We really want to bring that efficiency. So it takes away from my plate so I can do more communications for the city and the department heads, divisions, more things that are different than community media that we've been wanting to do for some time that just doesn't allow it at this point.
But if they're going to the wrong person, would just basically changing the title and the duties actually solve that problem?
Pardon?
If they're going to the wrong person from the get-go, would changing the job title and duties really solve that problem? Because it sounds to me like the person directing the question is directing to the wrong person out of ignorance.
With community media, it's more than just staff. It's the entire community understanding. When you are out there doing a program related to something like a band or something that's not related to the city, we really want to make sure that's directed into that community media coordinator instead of coming directly to the communications director. And a lot of that is just, some of it is perception, and we want to change some of that idea on how the voice of the city is coming from the director's position versus the community, doing both. I represent both, and I'll still be the director, but representing both can cause very much a lot of confusion, especially if you see me out taping some kind of event that might be a bit different. And that has happened. And when I say different, just something that wouldn't be city related. And why is that person filming that from the city? Not to say it's bad or anything, we're just trying to clean up that language and that understanding, I should say.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so Tom, what I understand is that at the moment, even for myself, the waters sometimes are muddied and I'm not sure who is doing what. So your hope is that by sort of saying this position is going to take care of all of the community events, community filming, and you're also saying this position would film all our meetings. Is that correct?
And that's really what it's been doing.
Yeah.
Now. I will always be a backup, or vice versa. We can back up each other. We've been able to do that. There are some things that I do that maybe David doesn't do, that position. Same with this now. David has done so many different improvements with downstairs since I have taken the reins of that. It takes some time for me to even learn that. So what we're trying to do is focus our strengths, and his strengths is definitely community media. That's why we wanted to hire him in that area. My strength was communications for the city, and one of the reasons why we wanted to build that. One of the things that I think, I feel that when this was started is understanding the difference between community media and communications. They're totally two different things. And I don't think we totally have a grasp of that yet because of what it was, because it was TV, public access. There's a tendency of that's what it is, and that's what we communicate. And that is really only one platform, but it's also a platform used for the community, not just the city. The city does use it, and we are using it right now. But the city needs to use more than just that platform. And also, I think the city needs to brand itself under City of Marshfield as much as it can, rather than Marshfield Broadcasting, because it's not going to help the image of the city to get out, because no one's going to know. Marshfield Broadcasting looks like another media entity. Nothing wrong with it, but Marshfield Broadcasting, really televising these meetings on behalf. Just like a church, we're televising a church on behalf of that church. It's not us. So that's where community media difference is there. And I'm just trying to eliminate some of the duties that I have to free up my time to do some larger projects for departments and cities that I just haven't been able to do. And hopefully that happens. And that's kind of where my efficiency came into so I'm not burning up the midnight oil.
Okay. So thank you for that explanation. Currently, David, who's been doing a lot of our community media, he's been paid by the hour. And I would like to know, on average, how many hours has he been working a week?
It would be it'd be recorded in the Chronos. So generally 40, sometimes it's over that. And what it does is he takes comp time majority of the time. There are some overtime, but comp time. So do you get 40 hours or 80? I don't remember. And then takes that later at a time. So you can build that up, because he only has, 3 weeks right now, because he's relatively new, 3 years into it. He only has 2 or 3 weeks vacation, so he's able to take a Friday off or something.
Right. So what I'm concerned about is that I'm concerned that if he is being paid by the hour, and if he does overtime, he gets comp time, and now he changes and his position is non-exempt, or it's exempt, it's non-exempt, that he suddenly will be working 50 or 60 hours a week without being compensated for it. So the one thing, because the amount of requests will never end, and the amount of city meetings will never end. These will continue, and I have no idea how many hours a week the community media is spending recording our meetings, but I would assume it's 10 to 15 hours a week is just doing that. So the request that I would have is that Human Resources and the Communications Committee would sit down, and this also will probably go into our strategic plan, sit down and find out what are the priorities for community media to try to make sure that his job truly is a 40-hour-a-week job, and he will know what to say no to. Because it's hard when the community asks you to keep on doing stuff, and I just don't want this to be a recipe for burnout for someone.
Correct. And I think that's very important because we don't want to look like we're just making this a salaried position because there's too many hours. No, that wouldn't be right. It's going to be our job in our own strategic plan for communications to follow our goals and really make sure that we're meeting those goals, because some of those goals have to deal with what we do and how we're doing it. And are we needing to continually do that? So we do have it in our plan, probably not pointed out specifically to that, but I feel we do, and we need to come up with that. And same with this position, the communications director, because, you know, it's really trying to do both. And I'm also trying to help my own position and myself and down the road for this position to succeed after down the road, because yeah, we're asking a lot, and we didn't know that 6 years ago coming in here. We do budget extra now for freelance. I call it freelance, but it's all help, and that has helped the community media side a lot. So we don't have to ask that position, David, or even myself, to go out and probably go film something that the community or an alder or somebody was requesting. We do budget and we pay for it to have that done now, which has helped alleviate a lot of that. So, and it's a lot more reasonable than having a part-time position because we can assign by the assignment.
All right, thank you so much. Does anyone else have any discussion or questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the changing of this title and to send this to McGrath. All those in,
Just to clarify, we're not approving the change of sending this to McGrath, is that correct?
Are we?
Well, McGrath has to see that title, and I think they really should see that the title is exactly what the description and the request we're asking that position. I think that's really important because otherwise it's going to be a bit vague.
All right, because
that's, I mean, but I think a title change, I guess if I had to ask this body for a title change, I don't know how that works. I would recommend a title change regardless of McGrath, just to provide that clarity and where we're moving. But I'll let Dave or Steve, or if you have a question or.
Yeah, realistically, what happens is, it comes back, you'll get a report from McGrath in a few weeks. You'll get a chance to look at it, and you'll see what the proposed salary changes are. And at that time, you can decide whether you want to do this whole package or not. I mean, you're authorizing us to go forward with McGrath involving the job title change. But if in fact this never comes to fruition, there's not going to be a job title called Community Media Coordinator. Does that answer your question? Yeah,
no, I'm just seeking clarity here to make sure that we're not approving and authorizing when we're just authorizing to go to McGrath first. We're not doing a combo motion by accident.
Correct.
That's all I'm.
Correct. It's all gonna be, when it comes back to it, it'll be one package to approve or not approve as far as what you see in the report.
All right, thank you.
You're not approving a position tonight and then to find out that if you don't decide to go forward with when you see what the salary is going to be, that there's going to be a position out there that you didn't want because it didn't tie with the salary. Okay?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So you're forwarding the whole thing effectively to them.
Right, so we're not approving the title change, we're seeking advice and information from McGrath first. Okay, perfect.
So just so that we're clear on what the wording of the motion is, because in 8, we have recommend council approval to change the title, and then to approve the revised job description, and then to authorize staff to send it.
Okay.
So what would you say, Jessica, is our motion currently?
Mr. Cran made the original motion, And I believe he said to authorize staff to send these jobs to McGrath for their review and comp evaluation.
Correct.
All right, so we're using the wording authorize. Okay, so we have a motion to authorize staff to send this new job description title, but not approving it, but to send it to McGrath. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, that motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could note, I will make a note of that for future requests like this to make sure that wording is clear and consistent between the pay and the job description.
Okay, number 9, request to recommend council approval of revised policy number 3.130, types of appointment, presented by Sarah Dressel, Human Resources Director.
Good evening. So the policy that I'm bringing forward was last updated in 2014. Since then, we have had some changes that I think, warrant us making some updates here. Some of those changes include that since 2014, we have implemented 2 new HRIS systems. One is Tyler Munis and one is UKG or Kronos. With those 2 systems, the terminology that they utilize within those systems for types of employees is a little bit different than what we had been using. And so hopefully tonight's changes will bring some overall clarity. So previously, casual employees had typically been used. Instead of casual employees, what we would like to do is change that terminology to temporary part-time employees and seasonal employees. So just kind of to give a little bit of background, when a position is created, there's definitely like a lot of things that go into determining what that position entails. Part of it is job duties and responsibilities. Part of it is what type of employee is it? Is it a part-time, a full-time, seasonal, et cetera? The other is whether or not it's exempt or non-exempt, and then obviously wages. So this policy update request is purely focused on the employee type, meaning full-time, part-time, temp, part-time, and seasonal, and then kind of defining that out. So within the policy, you'll see regular full-time employees and regular part-time employees are permanent positions for a department. So those are eligible for benefits. Part-time would be kind of prorated in most cases. These are positions that are budgeted for and authorized by the Common Council, so it comes before you every year. They are the ones that are tracked on that position control report. And then, updated as needed monthly. So currently, if you look at the position control report, we have 197.9 approved FTE. So that just means, some of those people are full-time, some of those people are part-time. And so if we look at it purely numbers-wise, if we had every one of those approved FTE positions filled, we would actually have 210 employees that are full-time or part-time permanent employees. So right now, we have only 196 full-time or part-time employees that are on there because of the vacancies you have or positions that weren't budgeted for this year. So that's kind of regular full-time and regular part-time. Then we have temporary part-time employees, and these are employees that are basically hired for a specific job or a specific time frame or something else that we've established as a city. So some positions that might fall under this would be crossing guards, for example, pretty sporadic as far as like when they work, how much they work in the week, but not necessarily a regular full-time or regular part-time position, because there may be gaps in employment throughout the year where they might not be working for a couple months or things like that. So those are some of the types of temporary part-time employees. So they're not temporary, meaning we work with a temporary agency. They're definitely City of Marshfield employees, but that's kind of the classification that we use. Then we have our seasonal employees. These are employees that are just as they state, they're tied to a season or a peak time within the city, and they typically last for 6 months or less, typically. So with that, throughout, we kind of defined each of these in a little more detail, what they entail, and then contractor is also on there, but nothing really changed with that. It really is just stating that we do work with contractors. They don't receive any additional compensation or benefits, and they're usually performing a specific service on a regular or an irregular schedule. So at this point, I just wanted to bring it forward to this group for approval and discussion to bring forward to Common Council. So I'm recommending that this committee recommend approval to Common Council to approve the changes to policy 3.130, types of appointment. I can answer any questions.
All right. So first we will look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the revision of policy number 3.130.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion? Mr. Rigel?
I'm looking at the definition here of regular full-time and regular part-time employees. Are we missing a section in there? So like what happens if I average 38 hours a week? Like I'm not supposed to hit 40, but I'm doing 36 or 38.
So that would be, as kind of crazy as it sounds, they would technically be a regular part-time employee until they hit 40. With that, you'll kind of see in the regular part-time, it talks about employees budgeted to work between 0.75 and 0.975, which is 39 hours, are eligible for prorated benefits, including vacation, sick time, paid holidays. It is kind of wonky because if someone is working 39 hours, but when we're looking at like the position control report, you will see some people that are close to full-time, but anything under 40, we're going to consider it a regular part-time employee. They'll still get benefits after 30. So for example, health, medical, dental, vision, all of that would be normal full-time benefits, but like vacation, for example, would be prorated based off of the FTE.
Right. But what I'm getting at here is that still the first sentence of the regular part-time employee where it says they're expected to normally work 20 or more hours per work week, but less than a yearly average of 30 hours per work week. Do we not have anyone that averages over 30 but under 40?
We do. So I think, did I do a typo there or?
That's what and that's exactly what I'm thinking. I think there might be a typo that we might need to just clean up so that there isn't a gap of someone that gets missed.
Correct. So I think in that first line, it really should be but less than a yearly average of 40.
Right.
30 is coming into play. Yeah, no, thank you for that. I'll make that correction.
All right, that was an excellent catch. Any other questions or discussion? Okay.
I do have one question. Do we need to amend the motion to allow for the correction to be made?
I don't think so. You've documented well that you want that corrected, and this is still coming back before the council, so I think you're safe.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve this new revised policy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And no nays, so that motion passes. Do we have any suggested items for future agendas? I don't see anybody. Okay, so then we are going to move to adjourn the meeting.